In the land of Tamriel, there are many individuals that want to make a profit. Some do it through hard-working, honest labor, some take legally gray routes, and others go off the goddamn deep end and commit illegal acts, violent or otherwise, for profit. One of these types of individuals are pirates, who sail the seas looking for merchant ships or military vessels to board and plunder in order to make a living. But being a pirate isn't just a job like being a lumberjack or a miner. It has become a way of life for many, and some have become so good at being pirates that they are considered by some to be the greatest pirates ever. So, this begs the question, who is definitively the greatest pirate in the Elder Scrolls series? I mean, any fucker with a plank of wood and a sharp stick could be considered the greatest pirate, but what have they done, and what are their achievements? Well, my fellow hirelings of House Telvanne, I'm Neloth, and I am going to be answering this question in this very video. But before I begin, let me state that this is not a ranked video, so with the exception of the last matey I mentioned, no other pirate is in any specific order. And also, this is simply my opinion. Perhaps you have a different idea for the greatest pirate, and that is completely okay. You do not need to shank me like a Sidnamine prisoner over such a minor disagreement. So, with all that being said, let us sail the seas and find some booty, I mean pirates. Red Bramman. Red Bramman, also known as the Bandit King, was an Argonian pirate based in Blackmarsh in the First Era who became infamous for raiding the Elysian Empire. Because Blackmarsh was so difficult to navigate and almost impossible for non-Argonians to live in, Red Bramman saw it as a perfect retreat. After plundering the riches of the Empire, he would often retreat to the swamplands and into a pirate kingdom that he built himself, likely using his loot to fund the building. Red Bramman became so infamous that the current Empress of the Elysian Empire, named Empress Hestra, demanded the head of Red Bramman personally. Because of this order, the Empire launched numerous attacks against Red Bramman and always lost, until a battle known as the Raid of Red Bramman, lovely naming, where a crew of a ship called the Dominus Fatum was able to capture and kill Red Bramman and deliver his head to Empress Hestra personally like she wanted. Now, I did say that Red Bramman was an Argonian, and this picture from the Elder Scrolls Legends would confirm it. However, there are accounts that he was actually a human. One account was that he got the nickname Red from his red hair, but Argonians can't grow hair, but they can adorn leaves, which could have been red. Another account says that Red Bramman and his human brigands were the Argonians' first contact with all of humanity, and unfortunately Red Bramman and his crew violated, pillaged, and enslaved the native Argonians. Personally, I believe that Red Bramman was an Argonian because I feel Argonians don't get a lot of love with legendary characters. So I think his name Red came from either red skin or red feathers, and the accusations of him horrifically violating the native Argonians are false. Torradan ap Dugal. Torradan ap Dugal, also known by his other lovely titles, Scourge of the Abyssian, Terror of the Gold Coast, Cutthroat of Hunding Bay, and Lord Captain of the Red Sabres. Torradan was born on the northern coast of Skyrim, and when he turned 9, his parents celebrated his birthday by selling him to a sea captain. And the sea captain Torradan was sold to was secretly a skooma smuggler that sold his merchandise from Daggerfall to Velehk, and taught the young boy how to evade the Imperial Navy. However, he was eventually caught by the Empire and hanged for his crimes. After this, Torradan wandered Hammerfell and Cyrodiil, working on different ships, until he was working with one captain that was about to hand over his ship to the Empire during the Cameron Usurper. Torradan and the rest of the crew were pretty pissed off at this decision, and so they slit the captain's throat and left with the ship like some good old pirate boys. During the Cameron Usurper, Torradan became a very well-known pirate, raiding ships all over the Gold Coast, especially cargo ships from High Rock. Torradan then became the captain of his very own ship called the Black Flag, that was said to be able to outrun any vessel. He then built up a sizable fleet he called the Red Saber, and his fleet became so infamous that the Empire put a bounty of 40,000 gold on Torradan's head. He also built a base in the Castle of Anvil, which was supposedly under his control at the time, which is very impressive. However, when the Cameron Usurper died, the whole Imperial Navy turned their attention towards Torradan, and his days were numbered. A man named Thasil Umbernox took up port in Anvil and tracked down the entirety of Torradan's fleet, ship by ship, until Torradan was all alone. Torradan was eventually trapped by Umbernox when his mages threw an entire fucking cliff onto Torradan's ship, basically destroying him. Thasil Umbernox was given the title of Count of Anvil and built a new city. Meanwhile, Torradan was not actually dead, but the cliff that fell on him formed a cavern that he was trapped in for 20 years. But even when Torradan died, he couldn't really stay dead, and his skeleton still walks around the ruins of his ship, waiting for someone to put him to rest. Something to note is that Torradan ap Dugal was born in Skyrim and has a Redguard sounding name, but it is very likely that he was an Imperial, because in ESO we meet a pirate queen that was also the Count of Anvil named Fortunata ap Dugal, and she was Imperial despite her name sounding very Redguard. I am of the assumption that Torradan is an Imperial with a wee bit of Redguard heritage. But aside from that, Torradan was a very fearless and notorious captain to amass both a large fleet and bounty on his head. Haknir Death-Brand. Old Haknir Death-Brand, also known as the King of Ghosts, was a legendary pirate who ruled the northern seas. Haknir was best known to his crew and adversaries for his rages and fits of madness that could only be beaten by Pelinal Whitestrake. Haknir was also a man that delighted in torture and murder, not for money, but simply for the pleasure of it. Because of all this, his own crew was said to tremble at his presence. Haknir Death-Brand was also a Nord. However, he supposedly had an unnaturally long lifespan that far exceeded the span of normal men, which led to many rumors about how he achieved this. Some say that he consumed the blood and souls of men he killed to extend his life. Others say that he was an immortal Daedra wearing the face of a man. However, the most likely tale is that he made a pact with Mehrunes Dagon himself, and the seal of the pact was the infamous scar across his face, which is where he gets the name Death-Brand from. And unlike the rest of the pirates I have mentioned who were killed by the Imperial Navy, Haknir actually died to old age, which is something most pirates don't get to achieve. This is also impressive considering Haknir's lifespan. Before he died, he refused to name a successor, believing his entire crew to be unworthy, and so he cursed all of his possessions in the name of his Lord Dagon, including his ship, armor, swords, and treasures, decreeing until someone bests him in combat, nobody can have his shit. After that, he ordered one of his men to scatter and bury his armor, and buried himself in Gildenhul Barrow with most of his treasure. Haknir could honestly be the greatest pirate ever, and if you said so, I would not disagree. However, there are a few others that I believe are just more powerful, including Velehk Sain. Velehk Sain, also known as the Pirate King of the Abyssian, was and still is an infamous Dremora pirate captain who is famous for terrorizing the Abyssian Sea in the west of Tamriel and has been pirating since before the Second Era. Velehk and his crew were so ruthless that when raiding ships, they would have their fun torturing and slaughtering the crew, and then they would proceed to sink the ship. And while the crew has their fun, Velehk would often tear his enemies' guts and eat hearts raw, which should say something about his diet and calorie intake. Velehk and his crew also knew no bounds, and they would sink literally anything, from imperial galleons to elven skiffs. Legend has it that his ship was very distinct, likely being Daedric looking, and anytime there was blood on the water, it was a signal that Velehk Sain was coming for you. Now, because Velehk is a Dremora, this means that he is immortal and can live forever, unlike our other esteemed pirates in this video. So, even if he is defeated in combat, he will just go to the void to regenerate and return even more pissed off than before. Not much is known about how much treasure Velehk has, but considering how long he has been a pirate, it must be the size of Red Mountain itself. Additionally, Velehk has the ability to hide vast amounts of treasure, including one on an iceberg to the west of Winterhold. Now, Velehk is truly the most notorious and deadly pirate ever, and being a Dremora only increases his status due to his immortality and his thousands of years learning and becoming the ultimate pirate. However, even Velehk Sain doesn't exactly compare to a certain someone. But before I reveal the greatest pirate, let me give an honorable mention to the worst pirate I could find while making this video, and that is Captain Calidus, who was a notorious drinker, and while he was drunk he crashed his ship near Anvil in Cyrodiil. Captain Calidus became so embarrassed by this incident that he drank himself to death in an Anvil tavern. Remember kids, never drink and sail. But now, it is time for me to reveal who I believe is the greatest pirate in the Elder Scrolls series. He is a character many people were pissed that I did not include in my Greatest Warriors video, but he is here now under a much more fitting title. So, the greatest pirate is Cyrus the Red Guard. Cyrus the Red Guard, also known as Cyrus the Restless, was a legendary hero to the Red Guard people and all seamen in the late Second Era. Now, I would like to say that some people may see Cyrus as more of a mercenary than a pirate, and most of his deeds happened on land rather than at sea. However, because of his clothes, his reverence by all seamen, his association with pirates, and also because I just fucking want to, we will be counting Cyrus as a pirate. Cyrus was born in the city of Sentinel and lived with his father, who was a famous comedic playwright, and his older sister named Izara. When Cyrus was young, he worked on the docks of Sentinel and dreamed of becoming a pirate, and eventually met a Nord pirate named Captain Tobias, who took Cyrus in after he killed his sister's husband, Hakon, in a duel. Cyrus being the one doing the dueling, of course. Cyrus and Tobias worked together as mercenaries, or pirates, with a fixer named Sarathra, who took them all across Tamriel. Eventually, Tobias and Cyrus parted ways, but a few years later, Cyrus received a letter from Tobias stating that his sister Izara had gone missing in Stros Makai. During this time is when the game Elder Scrolls Redguard takes place, and Cyrus goes on one mighty skooma-addled adventure, but I will summarize his accomplishments. Cyrus fought his way out of an imperial prison after being falsely arrested by Provisional Governor Rickton. He discovered a secret rebellion called the Restless League that his sister had worked with up until her disappearance. Cyrus defeated a powerful Slode named Nagasta and rescued his sister's soul from Clavicus Vile himself in his realm of oblivion called the Fields of Regret. He also defeated a mighty ogre, retrieved an ancient gear to fix an observatory, and also defeated the legendary dragon Nephalalargus or Naphalar in single combat. Cyrus also inadvertently fused the soul of Prince Ator with a sword, creating a powerful artifact called the Soul Sword, and proceeded to rally the Restless League to take back control of Stros Makai from the Empire. Cyrus proceeded to kill the provincial governor Ricton and his master assassin Dram. After the events of Redguard, Cyrus's story didn't technically end there. Afterwards, he possibly found an ancient artifact called the Eye of Argonia, and also sailed west to uncharted lands, likely finding the ruins of Yokuda or the continent Piendonia. During this time period, it was also likely that Cyrus faced Velehk himself, which is beyond incredible, and a less likely rumor that he had a sword meeting with Tiber Septim himself, which again, beyond incredible. Additionally, there is also evidence to suggest that Cyrus was also the Hoon Ding, which was an avatar of the Make-Way god. So there it is. Cyrus the Redguard is without a doubt the most legendary pirate in all of Tamriel, with all of his accomplishments killing Slodes and dragons, and meetings with literal gods, and even possibly being a god himself, from a certain point of view. And that's all I wrote, a video where I figure out who the greatest swashbuckling pirate is in the Elder Scrolls series. Now, this was completely based on my opinion, so if you have an idea for who you think is the greatest pirate, maybe comment down below, create discussion and whatnot. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.